an elder speaker with us today. Um, we have Ajibola with us. She's a blockchain consultant, and she will be addressing us, taking us through um, the intricacies of blockchain technologies and how we can begin to think and um, about the regulatory framework that can that can be used and is available for that we can really begin to look at. There isn't much regulation around the world, so it is still a space where people are still thinking and grappling with the best way to regulate this nascent technology. But I mean, we hope that at the end of today, and with the what Miss Ajibola will share with us, we will be a lot wiser and a lot knowledgeable in our understanding of blockchain technologies, and perhaps begin to have some views or some ideas of the regulatory framework that might actually present itself in the very near future. We are all aware of the, uh, I wouldn't call it confusion, but I mean, that is with us right now in Nigeria, particularly in terms of cryptocurrency and the statements and the policy that the CBN has put out recently, which has basically mandated prohibited banks in facilitating transactions with exchanges and trading in cryptocurrency. I must say very clearly that it isn't illegal, um, as it were, but they've just prohibited the facilitation of it by Nigerian banks. And so we also are aware that the SEC has said that cryptocurrency or crypto assets falls under their purview. And so these are things that we would be trying to elucidate and delve into today. We are Conrad Clark, and I can safely say we are the foremost risk management consultancy in Nigeria and perhaps in Africa. We have strong partnerships, and we are present in three continents: Africa, Europe, and the Americas. And we have office situated here in Nigeria, in the UK, Malta, and in the US. We have strong partnerships with IRM, which is the Risk Institute of Risk Management in the UK and global, and RMS, which is a global risk management body based out of the US. We've been around for a while, for over 10 years, and we have pioneered a number of things. One being the Nigerian Risk Award, which has been going for quite a while now, and that basically rewards and kind of celebrates people that have done well in propagating good risk management, and for at the company level or at the societal level. We are engaged in many sectorial risk thought leadership, education, clinical risk, healthcare sector, energy, and we have something that is so particular to us, which we developed in-house, which we call Morimi, which is a risk edutainment product that aims to use quote unquote Nollywood to showcase risk management as a very basic and understandable level so that everybody can understand it. Our aim is to continue to advance the understanding and the deepening of risk management across all sectors of our nation and the world. And so we are very excited to continue to bring different thought leadership to our society and to the nation, to get us better understanding of various aspects of things that affect our livelihood and risk. A couple of house rules. Today, whilst the talk is being given by Ms. Ajibola, please, if you have questions, please type it in the box and we will deal with your questions after the talk. We would give ample time to have a discussion and throw questions at Ms. Ajibola to help us get better understanding of blockchain technology and its regulation. And so, with joy and happiness, I would like to invite Ms. Ajibola to proceed to share a talk with us, and we look forward to hearing what you have to share with us. Thank you ever so much, and we would probably around 2:30, 2:40, we would break for questions. And please, if you have questions, do type it into the message box, and we would surely address them as best as we can during the Q&A section. Thank you and enjoy the talk. Over to you, Ms. Joella.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. Today I'm going to be talking about regulating blockchain transaction. Before I start off, I should perhaps introduce myself. I've been working in the blockchain field in the last 4 years. I initially came into Nigeria to work for a company based in Switzerland known as Decent Blockchain. I've also done a few consulting work as well in terms of just speaking to the government about how blockchain can enable a lot of the applications or a lot of the things that we do in terms of, to be more precise, in terms of land registry. I'm also a trader as well. My background is essentially being in test management. That's before I crossed over into working as a blockchain consultant. So before I delve into my discussion, I'm just going to totally assume that most of us are probably hearing about blockchain for the first time. So I'm going to talk about blockchain itself and what blockchain is. Blockchain is a form of database. You can just think about it as a ledger or a spreadsheet where data is stored. But the beauty of it is that the data is stored in a block. So, and it's each block is chained to each other. That's where the name blockchain comes from. And the whole idea is to verify, to keep verifying each data. So every data has a link, and that's how the blockchain works. So the blockchain helps in verification. And so the easiest way to really explain what blockchain is just an enabler. It allows us to transfer digital assets on the internet. So if you think about an email, before we all started sending emails, we used to send our letters through the post. What the blockchain actually allows you to do is it's almost like an email of money that allows you to send money over the internet. And when I use money, I like to use that loosely because anything that's a digital asset can be transferred over the internet. So that is essentially what the blockchain is. You can think about it as a database where data is stored and data can be verified and data can be audited. But a lot of us, when we think about the blockchain, we probably just think about Bitcoin. In fact, I think most people know of Bitcoin and not necessarily blockchain. So the technology that enables Bitcoin is called the blockchain. And that technology, as much as it can be used in the finance industry, it can pretty much be used in any other industry. It can be used, for voting. It can be used in real estate. But again, let's talk about the futures of blockchain. What makes blockchain spectacular? What makes it different from every other database, or, from your Oracle or any other database we may know about? What makes the blockchain different is that it allows you to transact business with another person without an intermediary in between us. So essentially, it's like a trust system. It enables trustless transaction. So for instance, if I want to send money to you, I probably would need to do that through PayPal. Or if I want to buy a product, so a lot of us shop online, we probably buy things from Amazon or eBay, and we all have PayPal accounts. So we go online, we buy an item, but what stops the vendor from saying that, "Oh, I didn't get the money," or what stops the vendor from not sending the product? And in some cases, a lot of us don't get our product, and we've been able to lodge complaints and get our money back. But then you need PayPal to be in between that transaction. What the blockchain does is that you really don't need an intermediary. It's all electronic, and it's done through what is known as a smart contract, almost like escrow, really, whereby if I want to transfer money to the other party, say I want to do an exchange. I've got US dollars and I want Naira. I can do it through a peer-to-peer platform like Binance, where I say, okay, this is the number of dollars. I've got $100. I want Naira in my account. The other party pays Naira into my account. Once I get an alert, I can then release the money. But having said that, what the system would have done is that they would have held my $100 so that I don't find the other person transferring money into my account, do not find themselves transferring money into my account, and then I'm not then releasing the $100. So all that can be done automatically using the blockchain technology. So like I mentioned, the blockchain technology is not limited to the finance industry. It can be used as a voting mechanism. It can be used in real estate. A lot of us know of its uses in finance and cryptocurrency. It can be used for music royalties. And when I say it can be used for voting, so for instance, I mean, that's one aspect that I think a lot of us will be familiar with, especially if we're based in Nigeria. We all know that, our voting system, always ends up with lawsuits, with a lot of contestants suing one another or suing the parties. Sorry, could you excuse me for a bit? There's a lot of background noise coming. Just a few minutes, please.
And so, whilst we await Mrs. Ajibola to join us again, I hope. Okay, she's back. Excellent.
Sorry, sincere apologies. I was hearing a lot of background noise, and it was quite.
Not at all. I appreciate.
Not at all.
Thank you. Thank you. Please carry on.
Yes. So going back to what I was saying, I was using our voting system as an example of, part of the problems that can be resolved through blockchain. So for instance, on the blockchain, you would never, once you've registered once, you can never have multiple of registration. With the blockchain, essentially, anyone can vote from home, so to say. And you cannot once a person's name has been registered, pretty much like we've got this BVN. Once you've been registered into the system and you've got everything linked up, like we're currently trying to do, we've got the NIN, which must now be linked up with your bank verification number, which must now be linked up with your driving license. And so the possibility of having duplicate of votes, the possibility of thumbprinting, the possibilities of bringing underage children from Sudan to vote automatically gets erased from that system, because the blockchain is auditable. It keeps a detail of each and every one, and it cannot be changed. So for you to have a record on the blockchain, you're going to pretty much have to get everyone to verify that, okay, this person is actually new to the system, and they're actually Nigerians and they have the right to vote. So those are part of the things that the blockchain could do for us. There are lots of advantages, and really and truly, I think we're going to start seeing it, the blockchain used in the various industries. There was also a project I worked on in terms of land registry, which I kind of worked with the Ogun State government, but somehow there was a blockage. There was a Nigerian factor that did not allow the project to go through, because I was working with a company based in Switzerland, and there was actually a grant to put the land registry of Ogun State on the blockchain. Unfortunately, after so much presentation and discussions, we were just told, if there was just a Nigerian factor. If money does not exchange, and nothing would happen. But what would that have done? That would have opened up. It would have opened up Nigeria. It would have opened up Ogun State, because once you start having your property on the blockchain, it simply means that it opens up the country, it opens up the state. It means that you can then take out equity on your property. So for those who are currently traders, you will know that Binance has a system whereby, assuming you've got, some Bitcoin, and you need $5,000 and you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, as long as your Bitcoin is worth roughly about $8,000, Binance will allow you to take out the money. But obviously, if you don't pay, then your assets will be liquidated. And so the same thing can actually happen for our properties. I think it's unfortunate in this side of the world, a lot of us are assets rich, but we don't have access to that money. It's not like in the Western world, where you can take equity out of your house and use that money to do business. That doesn't exist. But when we start putting our properties or our assets on the blockchain, it essentially means that we would have access to more finance, and it just opens up the economy. And it also takes away the issue of, land grabbing. It takes away the issue of family contentions on property, because whatever has been registered on the property can be searched by anyone. No one can delete it. No one can steal your file, like I understand happens in our world. So there are lots of uses of blockchain. It can be used in agriculture. It can be used in supply chain. So, but I know the most popular is cryptocurrency. So we're going to focus on cryptocurrency for the moment. So let's go on to talk about cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrencies are digital assets. Is a medium of exchange, and is stored using cryptography. So which means, when I say it's stored using cryptography, it means that you can't double spend. So I can't pledge, just like the example that I've given you. Assuming I have 10 grand and assuming I have 10 grand, and then I'm on Binance and I say to someone, I want Naira, I've got 10 grand. This is evidence that I've got it. And then I go on KuCoin, which is another platform, and I say, I've got the same 10 grand and I want you to change this money for me. I will not be able to do that. I can't double spend, And so one of the advantages is that the technology ensures that you cannot spend the same money twice. Now, Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency. And I know you've all heard the story of cryptocurrency and Satoshi and, the Japanese guy that none of us know where he's come from. He's brought this fantastic technology and he's gone on the ground. Everybody has claimed to be Satoshi, but we don't know where he is. We don't know if it's a person. We don't know if it's a group of people. And people think he might be Japanese. Some others have said he's American. But why did Satoshi, why did he think about the technology? Why what made him introduce Bitcoin into the system? Essentially, Bitcoin was introduced way back in 2008, and I think that was during the financial crash. And essentially what Satoshi noticed is that almost every 8 years there's a financial crash. You've got the bankers who, to a large extent, though they're regulated, they're still very much unregulated. Like, there's compliancy. We all know about that. They get fines over fines. If a deal looks lucrative, they will go on and do the deal and then pay the fine. That's just been the way things as operated. And of course, the 2008 was terrible. Everyone felt the impact. I think Nigeria did quite well, maybe because we're not a credit society, but for those that are based in the UK or the US, we all knew what the 2008 financial crash did to the system. And essentially, Satoshi just thought, you know what? We work hard, we save our money in the banks take our money, they do these expensive deals and they lend our money out and they make a lot of money. You need to see the bonuses they pay themselves. Whereas the savers essentially suffer because they give you peanuts. And then when the system crashes, there's a government bailout because, again, the banks cannot crash. So Satoshi imagined a system whereby we could eliminate the banks, whereby we could have a peer-to-peer system, and we could do exchange in between ourselves. So if I've got money and you want to lend, I can lend to you, and I can, if I'm lending to you, I benefit from it. You benefit from getting, you benefit from a low interest rate. And I also benefit from a considerably high interest rate or better than what the bank would pay. So that was the whole idea of Bitcoin. It was meant to be kind of like a peer-to-peer system, which would mean that we do not need banks. And the other thing as well that Satoshi noticed is that every time we bail out the banks, our governments, they go on and they print money. They print. Even this COVID-19, I keep saying we're all going to drink the Gary, in terms of a lot of money has been printed over COVID-19 vaccine. And there's really nothing backing it up. Back in those days, in the 80s, I think, every central bank kind of had to have equivalent of the gold of the money that is being printed. But now every government prints. We can't even keep track. And each time the government prints, they're essentially taking money out of the citizens. It's like a forced tax, so to say, because you then realize that your 100 naira, what 100 naira could buy 30 years ago, it can't buy now. I was saying to Bankole that I came across the receipt of my school fees while my mom was going through some of her paperwork, and I saw the receipt of my school fees. Then we used to pay 300 naira for school fees. And I just thought, what is 300 naira today? That's tip money. In fact, there's some people you can't even give 300 naira tip to because they will just, ease at you, so to say. But that's how much the value of our money has gone down. So essentially, every time government prints money, they're taking money out of their citizens' pocket. And that was the whole idea of, let's come up with this currency that cannot be manipulated by any government and will retain its value. I once said that, and essentially we're seeing that. We see, I mean, I knew of Bitcoin when it was still roughly about $300. In fact, when it went from $300 and so went up to $700, I sold most of my Bitcoins because I was like, before it drops again, had I know what we would have today, I would not have done that. But it's increased in value, and it has now become a threat to a lot of government, as much as they're all saying that they want a cashless society. They want it to be centralized. When I talk about centralized, the government still wants to have control over our money, control over the flow of money. And this is what scares a lot of the government, because with Bitcoin, it's borderless. It's really borderless. So it's not moved by printing of money. It's nothing. And a lot of people are now trying to protect themselves with all the spending that's gone down with COVID. They're buying Bitcoin. Some are buying gold, as a way of retaining the value of their money. Now, so let's talk about regulation. So we've spoken about the good things about Bitcoin, but there's a downside, and really and truly, there's a downside to everything. I know the CBN governor kind of almost sort of like painted one side of the story. And I think, it's always good to open up both sides, so to say. In terms of why we should regulate so that, Bitcoin, to ensure that Bitcoin is not facilitating the black market. There's also a need to regulate from the government point of view, because, again, easily you can evade tax. I mean, so if, like I said, assuming I've kept my Bitcoin, at what point do I pay tax on it? Is it when I sell it? How much tax do I pay? How do you report tax? How many, a lot of even accountants or tax tax regulators don't even understand this technology. So how do you want to chase people up for tax evasion? Then obviously there's the risk of money laundering. You steal money, it's a good place to hide it. Obviously the CBN has got rules, and like every other government, they've got rules about money laundering. They've got rules about terrorist financing. I know that at one point, I mean, there's a limit to how much you can pay into a Nigerian account as well, where questions will be asked. So obviously, on one end, there's a need to regulate what is going on in the cryptocurrency market, and more so that now that cryptocurrency is almost equivalent to money. Again, that's another argument, because some think, okay, should we treat cryptocurrency as an investment? Can we assume that it's similar to gold, or do we treat it as a medium of exchange? I haven't said that it's highly volatile. So obviously there's that argument going on, because regulators all over the world are wondering, how do we regulate Bitcoin? And the truth of the matter is that Bitcoin is borderless. So how do you regulate a currency that is not owned by any government? And so what most governments are doing at the moment is they're trying to kind of categorize what Bitcoin will be in terms of taxation. How should we view Bitcoin? So in terms of taxation, I think in the UK, Bitcoin is viewed as an investment that you must pay tax on, especially when you buy and sell. That's for tax purposes. In other parts of in other countries, so for instance, in America, they're regulating more of the exchange. So back in 2007, you could log on with your email and password and move money into your platform and trade. Now, you can pretty much still do the same thing, like if someone sends you cryptocurrency, but you will not be able to withdraw. So a lot of countries are asking that the exchange platforms, at least, it's important for them to know the traders, to do a KYC, know your customers. So those are part of the regulations that they've introduced as well. And of course, when you get on some trading platform, they will ask you where you've gotten the money from. They may try and find out your salary, your bracket of salary. Some will ask for your national insurance number. I think Luno is actually linking NIN as well. So there's some form of regulation going on. And this issue about regulation it's a general problem. I don't think anyone has gotten it right. I think China is a bit clear about what they want and what they want to achieve from cryptocurrencies. Initially, they banned it, but now they've introduced their own cryptocurrency. It's not decentralized. And when I say it's not decentralized, Bitcoin is decentralized, meaning that it's not owned by anyone. But the Chinese have introduced their own cryptocurrency, and the whole idea of their own cryptocurrencies to ensure that they're able to attract more funds into China. So, and they are also trying to kind of compete with the USA. So nowadays, everything we do when we're buying, foreign goods, it's mostly costed, it's mostly in US dollars. That's like the standard currency. And of course, the Chinese recently said they've approached some African countries and they've said that you don't need to get USD if you want to buy things from China. You can use the rubies, and they want to make that available digitally so that it's easily accessible and is competing with the USD. So they've got their own plans of how they want to use cryptocurrency to better their own country and to draw more funds in. And the same thing with the US. The US, they're very obviously looking out for investors. Like I said, back in 2007, you could essentially trade on any platform with any amount of money. Back in 2007, anyone could really have a cryptocurrency. All you have to do is think about a great idea and do your coding, come up with this with your own cryptocurrency, do a lot of marketing, and get people to invest. I mean, I don't want to count the number of currencies I invested in, and they've essentially become nothing at the moment. So there's actually need to regulate the space to protect investors as well. And I think a lot of these exchange platforms are taking much more responsibility and ensuring that they're just not listing companies like they were doing in 2007. So we're not saying that there is that we're not saying that we should not regulate the space. We definitely should regulate the space, but banning cryptocurrency or banning Bitcoin trading is definitely not the way to go. I mean, irrespective of the announcement that's been made by CBN, I can tell you that trade is going on, per se, in Binance. In fact, what Binance did is Binance introduced a way of doing a peer-to-peer exchange whereby you can even exchange Naira. So if I'm on the platform and I've got 50K and I want to move it to my bank account, someone else may be out there who wants to pull in 50K into the trading platform. And so what we do is an exchange. You pay 50K into my account and I pay 50K into your trading wallet. So banning cryptocurrency, banning exchanges is not the way to go. It really does not stop anything. There are ways around it for those that know what they're doing. And I think Binance has even taken it upon themselves to run a series of training on how to do pair exchange. So that's currently going on. What the government really should be thinking of is digital currency is here to stay. And the truth of the matter is we should be encouraging startups that can use blockchain. I think we, the developing country, especially Nigeria, we are the ones that need this blockchain the most because our systems are not transparent. And I could tell, I mean, like I said, I was working on a project where we wanted to put the land registry on the blockchain, and there was a lot of pushback. But the only way we were able to sell it to the government is that it can generate, funds for you as well. But on the long run, it just simply means that we stop getting, we have a more structured um, way of purchasing land. People can do a search. A lot of people, are nervous to go into real estate in Nigeria. There are all these moneyless stories and being duped or a land being sold 4 or 5 times over. A technology like blockchain can totally eradicate problems like that. There are loads and loads of problems that the blockchain can eradicate. And the truth of the matter is that we are entering the fourth revolution. We missed out on the third revolution, where that was when email came in, the internet came in. The Americans kind of drove the industry. That was the era when we had Facebook, YouTube, Google. And what are we doing now? We're all on Facebook. Are we not all on Facebook? We all advertise on Facebook. And essentially, we're paying our money to Facebook, and that money is going into the US economy. So again, we need to begin to look at what we need as a nation. We need a lot of investment in Nigeria. We need to encourage our young ones who are coming up with different solutions based on the blockchain, and that could really liberate and open up Nigeria. So I think it's pushing it aside or banning it is just cheap talk. It's just essentially refusing to do what you should do, which is sit down, get people who can think, put some regulatory framework around blockchain, and get to understand this technology. Because like I said, we are going into the era of blockchain, we're going into the era of AI, we're going into the era of internet of things. And we really need to be on top of what is going on. And this can totally just change Africa and bring us at par with the Western world. Because like with the land registry, the UK is pretty much structured. And for them, introducing the blockchain is a big revamp. But for a country like Nigeria, we don't have a structure in place. So if we can put in more structure, we would see a lot more investment. We'll see a lot money flowing into Nigeria, because people know that, okay, if I lend money, I know that there's a collateral on the blockchain, and I'm not going to, no investor wants to come into a country and lose money. So there's no one way of regulating, like I said, the likes of IRS in America consider Bitcoin as an investment. FINS, the Financial Enforcement Network, essentially regulates just the exchange and regulates those who are creating cryptocurrency. So every country sort of like are sort of they kind of building their own framework to suit what they want in their economy and how they see cryptocurrency working for them. And I think we need to be doing the same thing in Nigeria. There's no point. I'm not even worried about banning it, because I think those that are already into cryptocurrency can still trade, but it's just the fact that it's almost being painted as not being legal. And I kind of feel like a lot of our people are going to miss out on that. And it's very important to educate a lot of people. It's very important to educate the regulators as well, and the government officials, the CBN governor. I think rather than just ban cryptocurrency, it's best to look at it and just, sit down and think, okay, this is borderless. How do we make this work for us? So I think that's about it really from me. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ajibola. That's been quite useful and quite elaborate. And you were, on the time. That must be your British timing. Well done. And so before the questions start coming in, I have something to kind of share, and perhaps you can give us your perspective on it. And I want to treat it in this way, because potentially I would say that most countries or most regions have decided to treat blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency in a particular way. And I'll break it into 4 key areas. One is it's permissive, which basically means it's legal to use Bitcoin. In other cases, it's contentious, which basically means it's there are some legal restrictions on the usage of Bitcoin, but it's not clearly prohibited or illegal. It's the third one would be it's still contentious, but it is, the regulation is based on trying to fit it into old laws, but again, the Bitcoin is not prohibited directly, and in some cases they are completely hostile to this technology. And and I'll use examples of countries. Algeria, I think Morocco and Egypt have made it, it's prohibited, it's illegal. In fact, in Egypt, it's haram, which basically means it's not acceptable. In Nigeria, it's not illegal, but I don't even know if we can say there's some restriction placed on it. But in places like the US or Canada or EU, European Union, it is clearly not illegal, and there isn't any prohibition placed on it. And so you can see how wide the regulatory environment is right now. What are your views? Where can we learn, and where do you see which region or which country can we learn from? The likes of Germany, Japan, China, EU. Where can we begin to get some ideas of what we can do, and also make sure we particularize it to our own environment, make it a Nigerian thing, an African thing? What are your perspectives on that?
Thank you for that question. I think, like you rightly said, you've defined, the various classification, if I can put it that way. I think there's a lot of trying to fit blockchain into the old rules, trying to ensure that it fits into the financial rules that exist. But I think what will eventually happen is that we'll probably adopt the mode that China has taken on, in which case China has created their own cryptocurrency, and essentially it's not decentralized. When I say it's not decentralized, it's still very much controlled by them. And what they're trying to do is to make it the main means of trading, just the same way you've got USD. And so when you have a currency that you must have, they essentially there's a lot, you can control a lot of things. If you're a manufacturing nation where people can buy things, and we've seen this especially, I think this played out a lot during Trump's administration, and we saw the trade war between the US and China, whereby the Chinese would devalue their currency and make things a lot cheaper, such that it then becomes unprofitable to buy goods and services from your own country and it's a lot cheaper. There are a lot of things that are probably cheaper to buy from China than they're cheaper than to buy from Nigeria. And what does that? That essentially means that you're not able to develop goods and services within your country, and you're dependent on importation. And so what we must realize is that the politics of the world, is still very much in the face, in the sense that every country wants to be the world power, so to say. If all the nations are buying things from you, you can dictate, you can control your currency. You can dictate how high it will be and how low if they're dependent on it. And I think the Chinese are trying to place themselves there. They want their rubies to be very accessible. They've mentioned to African countries that they don't need to buy USD to buy products from them. And I think in Africa, we need to also take that same approach where we have our own currency. And essentially, if other nations wanting to buy things from African countries need to get that currency as well and use that to our own advantage, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to do business with us, especially Nigeria, because we've got numbers. And so we should use what we've got. We've got numbers. Like I said, when I came in and I started doing some work in Nigeria was because a company in Switzerland had kind of sent me over to Nigeria, and they just felt it would be a lot easier to have an indigenous of the country because the rules are a lot easier. But again, people are coming to Nigeria because we've got the numbers. In terms of Bitcoin trading, Nigeria is on top of the list with Binance. So Binance had to create an NGN peer-to-peer exchange for Nigeria. In fact, the UK does not have a peer-to-peer exchange on its platform. But after the directive from CBN, they created one because it's a big market. It's a massive market. And so African countries, we need to come together and look at it and say, you know what? We're entering this fourth revelation. This is our opportunity to be at par and really kind of bring in the right investment and look after the interests of Africans. And it's very important that our government, are thinking deeper. And not just thinking, because they use Bitcoin for answers, we're going to ban it. No, we need to look at the bigger picture and look at what is going on in the world. Otherwise, we are going to find ourselves whereby, we in terms of trade, we're almost going back to the colonial days, whereby, other countries, like I look at a lot of things in Lagos, they're all subcontracted to Chinese companies, and that's money that is going out of our economy. And we need to be bringing money in and not taking money out. And that's why the Chinese, they're very strict. Like each family, the maximum each household can spend outside of China is about $30,000. There's a cap, And so we need to start thinking about how we will pull funds in and not take it out. And we should create a regulatory framework that is beneficial to us, that looks after us.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was quite deep and detailed. And I mean, I guess and this is more of if you can just give it. I'm going to kind of summarize a number of things you've said, and if you could just help. Oh, I think there's somebody that has raised their hands. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would. Could we allow the gentle person that has that has their hands raised up to ask the question? Could you please go ahead and ask your question? Or do you want to type it if you can't?
You can unmute yourself, Angela and Courtney. You can unmute yourself to ask your question.
Please unmute yourself and then go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, hi, good afternoon. Thank you for such an inspiring, or let me not call it inspiring, educative talk. So I know that currencies are regulated, or currency prices change as a result of import and exportation. But with the blockchain, how does the price change? How regulation is what is they're working on, but how does price change with the blockchain? Thank you.
So if I can just be clear, what you're asking is about price fluctuation, how regulation can assist in that matter.
No, my question is how does price change? How does the price fluctuation work? Because for the usual currency, it's as a result of import, export, balance of payment, and all those stories. But with the blockchain, how does the price work?
Okay.
Price
work. Okay, thank you. That's clear.
Okay, so let me, because when we talk about blockchain, like I said, there are various aspects of blockchain. So I'm assuming we're essentially talking about cryptocurrency. And so let me use Bitcoin as an example. Mm-hmm. So for instance, with something like gold, the price change is determined by nature, if I can put it that way. Mm-hmm. Like, the more gold that is available, the cheaper gold is. Once gold becomes scarce, it becomes expensive. So it's naturally, and then of course there's the demand and supply that goes on. If more people, so at this point in time, you have more people demanding gold, maybe because obviously with COVID-19, there've been a lot of money printing by government, and even your dollar is not what it was like 20 years ago. So there's a general depreciation in all currencies. And so a lot of investors tend to hold or store the value of their money by buying gold. In Bitcoin, it's slightly different because there is a lot of computation that goes on, which is known as mining. The way Bitcoin is produced is that there is a mathematical computation, computation, and whoever is able to solve whoever is able to solve it essentially gets a new Bitcoin. That's the way it works. Now, Bitcoin, I want to be a bit more specific because Bitcoin is the first currency, and there are only 21 million Bitcoins that can ever exist. Already there are 18,000 in circulation, so there are only like 3,000 more to go. And so what would eventually happen is it's going to be demand and supply, right? We've seen Bitcoin. Bitcoin has gone from, as of last year, as of last June, Bitcoin was like £7,000. Now, as of today, I think it's probably about £35,000, thereabout. And it's essentially demand and supply. And once you get more people wanting to put their money in cryptocurrency, there is an increase in demand. Apart from the increase in demand as well, you have people who are known as the whales. The whales are people with, or banks or financial institutions with large holdings of Bitcoin. So for instance, for those that have large holding of Bitcoin, if they all decide to sell, the price of Bitcoin will go down. Mm-hmm. If they all decide to buy, if they want to kick up, if they want to raise the price of Bitcoin, the large holders, all of them, they can easily kind of do that. And that's where there is need to kind of regulate the space, and so even as a trader, you want to trade in the direction of the whales. If they say, okay, Bitcoin must go up today, you want to hold and follow Bitcoin going up. If they say Bitcoin must go down, you want to kind of, well, not necessarily sell. I think with other cryptocurrencies you can. I think Bitcoin is here to stay, and like I said, there are only 21 million of it. I really do see Bitcoin going to about 100K by the end of the year. I think it's going to become a big digital investment. It's going to become like almost like gold. I see it more like gold than legal tender, because I don't think any government will. I mean, the government of the world, they all want to be in control of their own legal tender and be able to adjust the economy. So I think what we're likely to see is that nations will have their own digital economy, because at the end of the day, it's not about paper money. It's just whatever is a better form of money, whatever holds its value, whatever is trackable. I think we're going to see more traceability in terms of blockchain. The more the regulatory body come to an understanding of the uses of blockchain, they're going to try and use it to their own advantage. But essentially, demand and supply determines the price of cryptocurrencies. But also, there is the computation as well that goes on that determines the price of cryptocurrency. And then, like I said, you have the big holders who can essentially kind of form a cartel and say, you know what, just increase the pressure so that everyone is buying Bitcoin, and then, you know, they can pull back as well. But you see, what you have to also be careful with a currency like Bitcoin. There's no point selling, because it will go up again. And you see, what is going on in the world is essentially you have the big spenders who have come into Bitcoin quite late. So there are times they will pull the price down because they want people to sell. And as people are selling, they're buying up the Bitcoin. So again, when it comes to Bitcoin, I think old is what I would say. I think it's going to be an investment asset. I don't know about other cryptocurrencies. Ethereum will do well, but Ethereum can be increased, it can be decreased. But like I said, Bitcoin is not, it's borderless. It's not owned by anyone. It's not owned by any government. And, you know, it's good to have a share of
Thank you. I mean, thank you so much for your for sharing with us today. You've helped us understand some very opportunistic use of blockchain technology for voting, for e-health identification. I even hesitate to say that, you know, we probably can, our Afrobeat Nollywood people probably can get their money better internationally if we help them with Bitcoin. Something to take away.
So my project on Descent was with the Nollywood, you know. Yeah, that's a different discussion.
Exactly.
So just to really buttress your point that blockchain can help Nollywood.
Exactly. And, you know, one of the issues that we've had, you know, in order to solve our housing or infrastructural problems in Africa is this issue of not being able to identify ownership of land and how, you know, making land portable. And so from what you've shared with us, this is something that potentially can solve that problem, and linking that to GIS that, you know, we're doing very well with, you know, that can really help us broadening, you know, land registry in our nation. Supply chain is another area that you told us that we can use big Bitcoin for. That is, you know, in moving things around the country or in Africa, especially with the NAFTA trade agreement that we have right now, and our, you know, trade relationship with China and, you know, the rest of the world. You've helped us understand that this can help us with, you know, especially from a land point of view, the land grabbers, the area boys, the monilas and stuff like that. And then you've also, you know, shown us that, you know, there isn't any one size fit all for cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or blockchain. Because, you know, if we look at Bitcoin, some people have treated it as a convertible, decentralized virtual currency. Some people have treated this as a property. Some have said it's a commodity, and some have said it's a currency. And so, and when you're regulating those spaces, there's a different law or whatever that covers asset, valuation, regulation, and stuff like that, property, commodities, and currency. And so we got to, really be thinking outside of the box, not try to fit into what people are doing abroad or what we've done in the past. We need to latch on to this fourth revolution, revolution, and not get not lag behind. And so and you've told us that by regulating this, things like loss of private keys, fluctuation, and even issues of manipulation, like the LIBOR, a manipulation that got a lot of people into jail and stuff like that. We can begin to look at that and actually make this something, at least safe. The fluctuation will be there like any investment, but at least when people are getting into it, they know that when they're dealing with somebody, they know the person they're dealing with, and they know that if anything does happen, it would be because of the intricacies of this media, not because somebody is out there to manipulate the market or to cheat them. And so we are and one that I would actually end with is, Nigeria or Africa, we're so reliant of international remittance. Imagine what we can do to drive down the price of international remittance by latching onto blockchain. It will be quicker and it will be a lot cheaper. Way cheaper if we can harness the technology of blockchain towards
and that's
that.
already happening, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's already happening.
Yeah, and so we are so thankful for sharing with us, for helping us deepen our understanding of blockchain technology, and helping us think outside of the box and begin to imagine what kind of regulatory framework we can use in this space to harness the opportunity of blockchain technology in Africa, in Nigeria in particular, and whilst reducing the threats that it poses to us as a nation, to our economy, and making sure that we do not lag behind in this fourth revolution. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your sharing with us today, and we're so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for being with us today to get some understanding about a blockchain and its regulatory framework and regulating of blockchain technologies. And so if you do have any further questions or anything that you would need to understand or you want us to help us, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to offer further assistance, training, or deepening of your understanding of blockchain technology. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again in one of our webinar series. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.